Abu Dhabi, the final race of the F1 season for 11 of the last 14 seasons. Dreams have been made and dreams have been crushed at this iconic circuit. Ever since they changed a few corners, it has been home to, well, at least better racing. It's still not amazing. But anyway, this is everything that you will need to know going into the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix for 2024. So we'll head straight into the news, and the big one, of course, is Esteban Ocon leaving Alpine. Now, there's a lot of rumours spewing around why this has happened, but basically, the one Alpine have given us, the excuse, is they wanted him to be able to do a test run in the end of season testing for Haas. We know this is bollocks, basically, because if you really want to do this, you can honour it and do what Ferrari are doing for Williams, letting Sainz do this. But we've also seen technically where Mercedes aren't letting Hamilton do it for Ferrari. So it depends from team to team. And I guess Alpine and Haas right now, pretty fierce rivals. So I'll give them that, but quite petty from Alpine. However, it does mean that Jack Doohan is taking his place. I'm really excited to see what he can do. Hopefully, he gets the same spec of car that Pierre Gasly's getting. Otherwise, again, pretty much useless not letting Ocon do another race, because they may as well only have one car on that track with just how bad of a spec they had Esteban Ocon racing on. I mean, he got the podium, of course, in Brazil, but then afterwards they were just like, yeah, we're just not going to give you any sort of car that could do anything. He was hopeless and it wasn't even his fault. But anyway, I mentioned it slightly talking about Ocon and that whole situation, but of course we have 2 test sessions at the end of the season. We have the end of season testing in Abu Dhabi, and we also have the young driver end of season test program that will happen on Tuesday the 10th of December, 2 days after the race. Be on a watch out for both of these, especially the young one, because you see a lot of prospects coming up, potential future F1 drivers, before they actually turn up on the grid. Oh, who knows, maybe a year or two, potentially even more, before they actually have a spot on the grid. On top of that, we also have a lot of different drivers in FP1. Now, there's quite a few drivers who have done a few FP1 sessions, coming back, like you got Dragovic coming back, but you also have some brand new drivers who have never driven in a Formula 1 session, which are the following: Rio Hirakawa for McLaren, Luke Browning for Williams, and then Jack Crawford for Aston Martin. Comment down below if I've missed any of the young drivers who haven't taken place in a practice session before and they are taking place in Abu Dhabi. Genuinely, there's just so much to be excited about outside of the racing, which is a little bit weird because you'd think I am very excited for the racing, but keep an eye on everything else going around the track, because there's going to be a lot of politics going on, definitely. The final race, you know, a lot of drivers are leaving, a lot of drivers are arriving, so it's going to be an exciting one to watch. But heading on to the juicy part, our nice big fat juicy steak of the video, and that's obviously the track lookouts. So there's 2 things you need to be looking out for this weekend. The first one is the battle for first place in the Constructors. You knew it was coming. Ferrari versus McLaren. The gap is down to 21 points. And me, as a McLaren fan, I'm kind of pooping myself, I will have to admit, because Ferrari look like they're going to be faster than McLaren in Abu Dhabi. McLaren aren't going to be nowhere, but if Ferrari get a 1-2, McLaren would need to make sure that their drivers don't get basically below 4th and 5th, which is a scary thought to happen. But the only thing that's keeping me going as a McLaren fan is knowing that the last time a 1-2 happened, it was Mercedes, and I just don't see Ferrari doing what Mercedes did in Vegas. But it's a lot closer than I think people are leading on to, because yes, that's a big gap to pull in one race, but just one DNF for McLaren, and it's all in Ferrari's hands. So it'll be interesting to see. It's going to be a very weird weekend, because you might see McLaren fans praising Verstappen if he gets into the mix of it and pushes the Ferrari boys back, potentially Mercedes as well, and then Ferrari fans just hoping they can beat everyone. I mean, that's pretty usual though. But at the end of the day, Ferrari need a 1-2 to keep this Constructor Championship alive. It's not impossible for them to do that, so don't count your chickens yet, because it could bite you in the arse. So McLaren fans, wait up, there's still one more race to go. Ferrari fans, I'm a little bit worried, but we'll see how it goes. And then of course, further down the grid is the battle for 6th. Now, it used to be Alpine, Haas and VCarb. Realistically, they are separated by 13 points now, Alpine and VCarb. That race is done and dusted. And to be honest, I'm pretty happy with that. Out of all 3 of those teams, VCarb were the one that I didn't really want to get 6th place because that money doesn't matter to them as much. Obviously, they've got a lot of backing from Red Bull because it's just their sister team. So a team like Alpine and Haas, those are much smaller teams and they need the money. So I'm quite happy it's now going down to Alpine and Haas. But Alpine are very much in the clear at the minute. A 5-point gap to Haas at this point of the season's incredible. And with the way Gasly's been driving, I can't see a world, unless Gasly has a DNF, which actually happens quite a bit, so potentially there is a world that this happens, where Alpine don't score points. And Haas need to get 7th or higher. Now, the reason I say that is because they could get 8th and fastest lap, which would put them on equal points if Alpine don't score any points. But Alpine, with the better result in Brazil, would still beat them on the exact same points. So realistically, Haas have to completely just destroy them, get those 6 points. Now, they're going to need both Hülkenberg and Magnussen to help out here, I think. I don't think they can just rely on Hülkenberg to get 7th because you have the McLarens, Ferraris, Mercedes and Verstappen all looking pretty good. And unless there's a DNF there, 7th really is really hard to do. Perez, you got to hope he does Perez masterclass, which undoubtedly he probably will. So we'll see exactly how that happens. My favourites for that are Alpine, but I know Haas won't give up without a fight. Haas, I'm still predicting to get points in this race, but I think Alpine will as well. And sadly for Haas, because they do deserve it over Alpine, they're going to have to settle for 7th. But still a much better season than Haas fans and Haas themselves, I think, thought that they would be having. Right now, prediction times of the video, and my forfeit for this weekend is... I know I'm a little bit scared of the Ferrari versus McLaren fight, but 21 points. I feel like I'm confident enough to say this forfeit. If McLaren do not win the Constructors' Championship, look back at all of my forfeit videos, you will see I've done a George Russell 1,000 times video. I've waxed my leg and my arm. I did a 10k run and I still need to do the Toto Wolff 2,500 times name. I will do all of them again in one single video throughout just an entire day. I really hope that McLaren win the Constructors' Championship. I mean, as a McLaren fan, and now this, that'll take up my entire Saturday of next weekend. So, please, I hope this doesn't happen. But, putting it all on the line, everything all or nothing in the final race of the season, I think it's quite fitting. Now, with my actual predictions, top 3, I have gone for Charles Leclerc first, Lando Norris second, and George Russell third. That is right. George Russell has been on a string of good qualifying. I think he qualifies first or second, and he can hold on to the podium positions. I think Verstappen, Sainz, and Piastri will all be tussling for 4th and 5th. And then Hamilton, I don't think he's going to have a good race. I think Hamilton's done with that Mercedes now. Overachiever of the weekend, gone for George Russell. Like I mentioned, I think he's going to put that Mercedes where it shouldn't be in qualifying and then hold on to it. I've just got this feeling that he's going to end the season off with a high, and he's going to give some like smirky comment being like, oh, we don't need that 7-time world champion or some bollocks like that. I wouldn't be surprised if something like that happened because Georgie Boy Russell can be a little bit cocky at times, so we'll see what he can do. Then underachiever, I have gone for Zhou. Now, the reason for this is I don't think he'll meet the highs of his Qatar Grand Prix. I just think he's going to fall back to where he usually is, which is in the bottom 5. Which, for me, from where that Sauber is, I think Bottas will have a better race. It won't be the best way to end his season, but I think he's just happy he's got points now, and I think he's just settled for that. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. This is everything that you need to know for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix in 2024. Put down your predictions down below. Put what you think about my predictions as well, because I'm sure a lot of people will have something to say about them. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching the video. This is my final everything you need to know for this season, but don't worry. Over the winter break, Zach F1 will not be finished. I will be putting out more historic videos like my ones about the 2012 title fight in Brazil. I've got another one about 2008 Crashgate coming up for next week. So there'll still be 1 to 2 videos a week over the winter break from Zach F1. So don't you worry. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. As always, it's been a pleasure, and I'll see you all later. Bye-bye.